Yes, welcome to the No State Project here on my YouTube channel. It is, of course, No State Project coming to you live from the Fortified Compound in San Bernardino. Yes, I am still in San Bernardino. Don't know why the video is looking so bad, but hey, I probably will then pull it. It is episode, and it's July 3rd, as far as I know. Is it July 3rd? I probably should write that down before. Yes, it is July 3rd. So I appreciate everyone tuning in to the big show today. I want to thank everyone for their continued support. It is much appreciated. And I'll be going over an article by Robert in Washington. And so I appreciate his continued support. Of course, Chris in Northern California, appreciate the love and the support. And so this show is brought to us today by Chris. And also, of course, to Dan and Bill in New Hampshire, and Don, Eyal, Marc. I hope I don't miss anybody, but I do appreciate it. If you'd like to be able to help support the big show, it's you may do so at markstevens.sales.com or markstevens.net. And if you are looking to defend yourself, learn how to effectively defend yourself on a proven method, you may do so by going to markstevens.net. I do have available the books. Government Indicted has a whole model, which is, you can see since the book has come out, many people have replicated the success from previous years going across, different continents. So I also have motion templates and scripts available. So you can get that at markstevens.net. I am sorry that I will not be able to take calls today. I'm not going to be putting those headphones on. I'm going to be tossing them away. So my only headset not working, and I can't take calls. So what do you do? What do you do? I will be taking questions on the YouTube chat. So definitely hook me up there, and I will address your questions and your concerns. Any questions regarding whether I am Jewish or not, let's get that out of the way right now. I am not of the Jewish faith. No, not Jewish, have no Jewish background. So let's just take care of that stupid criticism right there. I do want to say we do have I ran out of time last week, and so there was some comments about what was I getting to. Am I still working on tax cases? Yes, I am still doing tax cases. In fact, I have some good news. We're working with someone with the IRS, and attack against by them. So I have some good news there. I'll get to that in just a second. What I am not going to be doing anymore are franchise tax board cases in California. And I will let you know ahead of time what to expect. If the franchise tax board attacks you, you do not have a remedy. Okay? If you are challenging their foundational claim, their legal conclusions or their legal determinations, if your idea is to challenge their foundational claims, you don't have a remedy with them. You don't have a remedy with the Board of Tax Appeals. And when they sanction you $5,000, you got to pay that before you can then get judicial review. And you probably don't have remedy that the court anyway. It's very doubtful. The situation is that they will sanction you. The Board of Tax Appeals will sanction you $5,000 for challenging the Franchise Tax Board's foundational claim. And that is if you're physically in California or you have a California source of money, then their laws apply and that there's jurisdiction to tax you. Board of Equalization or the Board of Tax Appeals does not like that particular challenge. So what they've done is they've said that if you just point out the truth, the Franchise Tax Board admittedly can't make their foundational claim, that is a frivolous argument and they will sanction you $5,000 for that. Now, again, I've mentioned I have a video in the works, but I'm not going to do it from here because the acoustics, not, as you can tell, not so good, and not nearly as good as the Fortified compound there in Mesa, Arizona. So as soon as I get home, that first week, I will get the audio done for that and get that posted. Because one of the things I point out there, and something that it goes to the way I do things here and why we've been so successful, is that we do challenge the foundational claim. And that we expect that when somebody makes a claim that something applies and creates obligations, that they have actual evidence to prove that. Now, according to their own laws, they do have to have evidence, or it's called a naked assessment, where a foundational element of the assessment is just not there. But they turn around here and there's evidence, I believe, that shows it's a rigged game. So I don't think anybody should expect that there's any remedy if you're challenging the foundational claim, because they don't hear it and they will sanction you. So the evidence that it's a rigged game is that while they will threaten and sanction us for $5,000 for an accurate statement, the argument is absolutely, meritorious. It is true beyond any reasonable doubt. Because they don't like the argument, they label it frivolous and they sanction you, while at the same time, people like the Franchise Tax Board's counsel can actually lie. Now, and this is not my accusation alone. This is not disputed by the Board of Tax Appeals, okay? So the administrative law judge did not dispute that the Franchise Tax Board lied. All he did was throw his limp dick on the table and say, there's nothing I can do. What am I supposed to do? I can't do anything, Mr. Stevens. Yeah, it's not an accurate representation. Yes, he could be lying, but there's nothing I could do about it. So the fact that they're threatening us with a $5,000 fine while saying that the Franchise Tax Board can literally lie in their brief and there's nothing they can do, come on. Well, Marc's just an anarchist. Yeah, but somebody explain to me how it's fair, have a valid argument, especially when I can take calls or post it here on YouTube, or you can go to markstevens.net and you can post it on the forum. Have a legitimate argument as to explain why it's fair for the Franchise Tax Board to lie in their brief. Yet and there's nothing that can be done, but you can impose a $5,000 fine on an accurate and true argument. Why not hit them with a $5,000 fine for lying? Oh, because it's a rigged game. It's not supposed to be fair. So, because there is no remedy against the Franchise Tax Board in California, because it is rigged, I cannot in good faith help anybody defend against attacks with the Franchise Tax Board, because you're going to lose. So this goes into the same category, unfortunately, as the cloud dancer. So hard to believe government agents lie. Because that's all they know how to do. And so this goes into the same category as when the Internal Revenue Service attacks you for an audit and they want to summons you to appear for books and records. If you fight it on the grounds of that there's no evidence of jurisdiction, you're going to lose, and you're going to lose bad. You have no remedy jurisdiction-wise, even with their own admissions. You have no remedy in the courts, the federal court, to defend against the summons. They are going to win every single time. It doesn't matter if your position has merit or not. It doesn't even matter if the agent who makes the affidavit admits he has no evidence and wasn't even qualified to make the statements. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And no, there is no legitimate argument supporting the Internal Revenue Service. Saying that I am an anarchist is not an argument justifying why the IRS can admit to not being qualified, admit to not having any evidence to support their foundational claims in the actual affidavit of good faith. The IRS, an affidavit of good faith. Yeah, that's hilarious. So that's what that was about last week. I cannot, in good faith, help anybody when I know there's zero chance that you can prevail. And it's not because the position doesn't have merit. It does. It's because the system is rigged against you. Now, I guess there would be critics to say, well, no, Marx he's just bitter. The argument has no merit. It really does have merit. The idea that the witness, somebody that the IRS can file an affidavit and admittedly not have evidence to support the very claims in the affidavit, says upon information and belief. Now, their personal knowledge, upon information and belief. It's right there in the affidavit. And yet you can have statements from the agent who did that they don't actually have information. They're speculating it, at the least, and at worst, they're just lying. So it's not because the issue has no merit. It's not that there's not validity to the argument. It's just that they're so corrupt, there's no remedy. Which, we went through recently, which, they won't even, the judge will not even acknowledge. You won't even say the words. You won't even say the words. Exception to the Anti-Injunctive Tax Act. Can't even say it. It's not that my argument has no merit. We have a judge who refuses to judges the system, regardless of where it is, California, New York, it doesn't matter. They absolutely will not acknowledge the exception, and they won't actually follow their own laws and court rules that say that when somebody files a motion to dismiss, it admits all well-pleaded facts. So what do? Oh, there are no facts. We don't see it. I don't see anything. I see nothing. Nothing. Some good news, though, on the IRS front. Hopefully, we can get him on the show soon. Randy, working, and again, this really helps with the IRS if you start with the first form letter, okay, and it hasn't escalated. So, like any situation with the government types, the more it escalates, the less chance you have of resolving it. Okay. However, we started with Randy at the first form letter. Where's your tax return? And Randy received the 90-day letter. And so the 90-day letter is significant because most of the time we get the 90-day letter, it's accompanied with a stay of the computer process. It is not going to escalate. And what the 90-day letter says is very almost word for word what the 45-day letter is. So just let me give it. All right, I better give some background. So they ask for the tax return. If they say, if you think this is, you're not required to file the return, there's no obligation, write and give us the explanation. So we usually get on the phone and we could typically get the agent to admit that they don't know what they're talking about, that they're not qualified, they're not the right department. So what we then are able to do is get a stay of proceedings. So stop the computer process. Okay, stop Skynet. Okay. And this way, it doesn't escalate while you're trying to get it to the right department. So what usually then happens is we follow up in writing. Of course, you want to do this. Keep a record of who you spoke to, the date, the time, and what they said. And the 45 and 90-day letters say, thank you for the information that you have you provided. We are going to investigate and look into the matter. There is nothing for you to do at this time, but we need an additional 45 days or 90 days in order to look into this and investigate this properly. I'm like, hey, take 90 years. Take as much time as you want. A lot of times it's just trying to find the right department. Oh, you got to go to here. You got to go. Oh no, we can't do it. We got to go over here. And then you got to go to a tax law, and then that tax law is not available. And then they're not here. And then you got to go over there. And then you got to go in person. You got to do this. You got to do this way. Take as much time as you want. You guys figure out who the right department is, and you get back to me, because Section 3705 of the 1998 Restructuring Act states very clearly, upon request, they shall assign an agent with direct contact information. 3705 of the Restructuring Act of 1998. Of course, they've told us before it's not their policy to comply with the law. Well, not yeah. All right, so that's the deal. So I apologize. I'm still available to help people learn, if you want to learn how to effectively defend yourself against these agents in case you make the choice to defend against the Franchise Tax Board. Because the way it sits right now, when it comes to foundational claims, the only remedy you have is to pay these animals under protest and bring a suit for refund, because at least they can't claim the Anti-Injunctive Tax Act. Well, it doesn't mean that some lawyer with the Franchise Tax Board won't still do that in an effort to waste time. But I don't know, would a court in California, after payment has been made, still allow sovereign immunity in the Anti-Injunctive Tax Act? I don't doubt it. But if someone decides that they want to go against the Franchise Tax Board, I won't get personally involved and make the calls, but I will certainly help you or anybody else that wants to learn how to better defend themselves against these people. That I can still available and do consults for that, but I'm not getting personally involved anymore. And again, if you have a summons by the IRS, I don't get personally involved with those either, because you cannot win. All they'll do if you don't comply is they'll throw you in jail until you do. And you're never going to get remedy in the federal courts. So enough for that. Enough for this here. Rob, who I appreciate his continued support of the big show, sent me this link. And what I'll do over here is I will put it into the chat so you guys know what the hell I'm talking about or where I'm reading it from. So, really? You're going to do that to me? All right. You see, you try to save time during a live broadcast, and it didn't work out. I have to have multiple tech issues. I don't know if you can call that a tech issue. But, all right. It says that the Indiana inmates found guilty will be charged $30 a day in jail. So the thing is, this is a fine. This is, this is an addition to your jail time and other fines. You talk about, so it says that convicted inmates in Clinton County, well, it's Clinton County, maybe it's not statewide, will soon be charged while they stay in jail. Sheriff Rich Kelly proposed the idea, and county commission has just passed an ordinance. Okay, so this is a county thing. This is not statewide. More than 150 inmates stay at the jail at a time. Now, inmates found guilty of a felony or misdemeanor will be charged up to $30 a day. Sheriff Kelly said a state statute allows him to do this. It's a deterrent to be here at the facility. Just be filthy rich and not have to go there at all, or be one of the king's men, be one of the useful idiots. So really be part of the ruling class, and you don't, that's a big enough. See, that's something you'll hear from, ANCAP types. The deterrent to jail is to just make as much money as possible. That's the solution to every problem. Make as much money as possible. It's a deterrent to be here at the facility. Yeah. He believes taxpayers in Clinton County contribute roughly $4 million to his office every year. A lot of that money goes to maintenance and food. He hopes this changes that and places the burden on criminals, code violators. I could see a murderer, but code violations, If it deterred one person from making a bad decision, then it is worth it to me. Hey, he believes taxpayers contribute. That's a funny way to say be stolen from. You know, and that's the thing. He talks about criminals. He hopes this changes that and places the burden on criminals. Well, let's see. If I did things like the county government people, you know, those who act as the county government in Clinton County, if I was to do things like them and I was to force the community to give me money, would they consider me a criminal? How is Sheriff Kelly paid? Oh, that's right. The entire community is forced on the threat of jail. See, make jail a deterrent. Okay. A study by the Brennan Center for Justice, a law and policy institute, said at least a few localities in almost every state allow pay-to-stay fees on prisoners. It found these fees are difficult for poor inmates and can make a successful reentry into society near impossible for some. Well, yeah, because you're coming out in such extreme debt. Yeah, because it's saying it could be a person could get, it could cost them, they could, if they did a year in their jail, it would cost, there would be an additional fine of $10,000 and change. So yeah, yeah, and of course, if you don't pay that, you go to jail. And I love Sheriff Kelly says, as far as them incurring debt, that's a responsibility that every adult has. We all incur debt. Yeah, but some is voluntarily done. It's a whole different thing if you're in for a code violation and you're railroaded by a rigged friggin' system, especially if you're poor and you don't have money for, to pay for a lawyer. Wow. Yeah. So he doesn't understand the difference between voluntarily incurring debt and having it forced on you. Yeah. He said only people who make more than twice the federal poverty level will be charged. Yeah. Good luck with that. Vanderburgh County said they also charge their inmates, but only with a one-time booking fee. If someone is convicted of a crime, they would pay $50. Yeah, they get you coming and going. Yeah. Yeah. I got to stay out of Clinton County. You know, it's the idea that just because you're convicted that it's fair. I can tell you that's just not how the American justice system works, especially if you're not part of the ruling class. You know, one of the ruling class's useful idiots. And so there's a story here that I saw on Bad Cop No Donut here on Reddit. And I don't know if can I get the actual article for this? Oh, come on. It has to do with a police officer was caught on video planting drugs. And it turns out that they have uncovered 100+ victims. Over 100 people that this cop has targeted. See if we can. I guess I'm not going to be able to get the actual article. Son of a. Wow. See if we can get this here. I wanted the actual article. But, the police officer is supposed to have been fired. Good Lord, I can't get the article pulled up. All right, well, I'll post this and maybe somebody else is able to pull that up. I can't get the actual article, but the police officer is on video planting drugs. There was one you can see in the video on Reddit that there was a woman that he falsely charged with having meth. And according to the article, and I did read a lot of it, that the police officer, while he was fired, a lot of the people, his victims, are still in jail, and that the prosecution has not filed a single motion to vacate or to do anything to get these innocent people out of jail. This is why I've said so many times, and maybe if someone can send me a link to the actual article, because I can't actually get it through Reddit. So hopefully somebody is able to do that for me, so I can, better report on what's happening. But from what I do remember, the police officer, the victims of this police officer are still sitting in jail. And imagine that the DA has not moved to vacate any of the charges against the victims. 100 people. I don't know. I don't remember seeing anything in there regarding whether the police officer has been charged. I would bet the farm that the police officer was just fired, that he has not been charged with destroying these people's lives. I guess, the hometown hero legend, is something that it's just a bit too tough to break. Well, why charge the police officer with destroying these people's lives? Just absolutely sickening. Okay. I think we've got some. This is then another one of these things where a woman was in a fight and she wound up getting shot. It killed her baby, and she's being charged with she's being charged with manslaughter. Someone's saying here from the article that the DA stated, let him just sit in jail. Wow. I wish I had the. Does anyone have the actual article? Well, I'll have it linked. Oh, there we go. Hopefully this. Yeah. Okay. So we've got the actual article here. I don't think officer accused of planting drugs in vehicles during traffic stop. And we already know this is not an isolated incident. We know that cops keep drugs on them just so, and toy guns, so that they can frame people. So here we've got where it says in the article, and I appreciate you guys posting that for me. A Florida police officer is now under fire after disturbing body camera footage shows him planting drugs in a woman's car and arresting her. Shortly after, Sheriff's Deputy Zachary Wester allegedly did the same to over 100 other victims, leading to 10 arrests. According to reports, Wester was fired from his job, and a criminal investigation is now under works. Yeah, I guess he's not going to be in jail pending the investigation, though, by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. No criminal charges have been filed at this time, but some victims are reportedly being subpoenaed for interviews in connection with the investigation. Mary Maddox, a Tallahassee attorney who was representing victims in cases against the officer, said she was working with 30 individuals who fell under the officer's dirty work. The officer's behavior might have been unnoticed if it wasn't an assistant state attorney who's responsible for reviewing evidence before filing charges in several arrest categories, which include drug possession. Christina Pumphrey, an assistant state attorney at the 14th Judicial, wow, an assistant state attorney brought this out. Well, kudos to her for that. Stated that she discovered the disturbing similarities across body cam footage of Wester's arrest. She stated that some stops were conducted illegally and also contained footage that conflicted with written affidavits. She also stated that people's reaction to their arrest seems unusual. Well, why didn't she just have this? Kudos for bringing it out, but why not seek an arrest warrant for the cop? Why not? Why do they always have to give such preferential treatment? His victims went straight to jail, and some of them are still there. And yet this piece of garbage is on video, and he's still walking free. Just like the Sackler family that I mentioned on the last show. And if you're not familiar with the Sackler family, look them up. They are partially responsible for the opioid epidemic and tens of thousands of overdoses in the United States. After allegations and Wester's firing, the attorney's office did not make an immediate move to drop the cases of the people who were still out on bond or in jail. Pumphrey stated she was getting explicit instructions to not dismiss the cases. Holy crap. She stated, I know these people are sitting in jail. I know that the particular charges they're in jail on, they're either innocent of based on the information I see, or there's no way I could take this in front of a jury. Some victims are suing the law enforcement officer. Many of the arrested are still dealing with the effects of their charges. Oh my gosh, can you imagine how bad it is? It's bad. You know that the cops set you up. You know that. The state attorney was actually honest enough to bring this out and like, oh my gosh, there's someone who appears to be on my side. Wow, I'm gonna get out. No, the lawyers. See, this is why I say the lawyers are worse than the cops, because the lawyers actually enable and allow the cops to get away with what they're doing. They are at least as bad as the cops. Here, they know that these people are innocent, and they're getting explicit instructions not to dismiss. I'd like to know the names of these people that are giving explicit instructions not to dismiss. Imagine that. Somebody who actually wants to do the right thing. Don't. Oh, it's so common. I just can't imagine the stress being, you're falsely charged. No one believes you. The state attorney says, we've got video proof that you're innocent. But there's nothing we can do because somebody higher up, another lawyer, doesn't want you out. So I don't want to hear any of this, oh, I just beat up on lawyers. This is one of many, many examples. Wait, does everyone forget about Alexander Acosta with giving given immunity to Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirators? No, it wasn't bad enough that Epstein got a sweet deal. Who should have gotten in prison for the rest of his life. And I don't mean a federal pound me in the ass prison either. I mean an actual hardcore prison for criminals who rape underage girls. This is very widespread. This is common. Probably nothing is going to be done to the cop. Oh, some have had prior drug charges, meaning the consequences of their arrest were amplified. In 2017, Derek Benefield was driving in the Florida Panhandle in Jackson County when he was pulled over by they can't, my gosh, the spelling errors in this, for allegedly swerving into the opposite lane. The officer claimed to smell marijuana and conducted a search of the vehicle, which reportedly found methamphetamine and marijuana. Yeah, a lot of marijuana users were using meth. Yeah, I'm sure that's right. Despite Benefield denying the accusations, he was arrested and charged $1,100 in fines and court fees and sentenced to 1 year in county jail. Oh, he might have to pay $10,000. He'd have to pay $10,000 if he was in Clinton County. Benefield was 7 months into a sentence when in September 2018, the state attorney's office dropped his case on 118 others. Wester was suspected of planting drugs during traffic stops over his 2 years with the department. Oh, last month, Benefield, 8 other individuals filed a federal lawsuit accusing the officer and 2 other deputies of planting drugs and making an illegal arrest, and the county and the Jackson against the county and Jackson County Sheriff's Office of negligence. Yeah. Oy vey. It is commonplace, guys. We know that this happens. And even when you've got video evidence, Slager in North Carolina, or was it South Carolina, shot a man running away on video, planting evidence. Jury wouldn't convict him. Yeah, we know prosecutors, they love the cops, except for someone like Larry Krasner in Philly, because, all things being equal, I'd rather be in Philly. There are some good ones out there. It is absolutely disgraceful how this happens every single day. I just can't imagine the stress of being, and how people's lives are destroyed. These lawyers, they don't give a damn. They don't care. They know that they're destroying these people's lives. And they can do that because they know damn well that they will not be held accountable. They're not going to be held accountable. These prosecutors know that the cops and then the judges, they they're not going to be held accountable. So, they can get away with it. Prosecutors have absolute immunity. They don't have to care. They do not have to give a damn. So there was somebody who had posted on the Skype about a former prosecutor. So let me see if I can pull that up. And I think what this does is it illustrates that prosecutors, they have to remember, just like Amber Geiger, who shot a man in his own apartment, claiming that she thought it was hers. They have to remember, when you commit your crimes, like this cop, you have to do it on the clock. So we've got here, ex-prosecutor locked up after guilty verdict in Hawaii. See, the reason why she was actually prosecuted is the word ex. She wasn't a prosecutor at the time. Had she been a prosecutor, she would have got away with it. So this has got some interesting stuff in here, because this is like the irony of the year. It says 2 U.S. Marshals led a former Honolulu prosecutor out of a courtroom Friday when a U.S. judge ordered her detained after a jury found her guilty of conspiracy, and he expressed concern that she could try to obstruct justice before being sentenced. Catherine Kihola left her purse with her defense attorney as the marshals approached to take her into custody after the bail hearing. Wow. This is the ironic part, everybody. Michael Wheat is a special federal prosecutor, and he is quoted as saying, "She lies as easily as she draws breath and will do anything to avoid consequences." Yeah, the defendant is a walking crime spree. This federal prosecutor, Michael Wheat, told the judge in court, saying she holds sway with police and has tampered with grand jury witnesses in the past. Yeah, that's what prosecutors do. They tamper with the grand jury. That's what they do. Beastline up in Alaska, actually going in and conferring privately with the jury in a tax prosecution. Nothing to see. There's nothing to see here. That's not unusual. I remember Lysander Spooner writing about Alfred the Great actually hanging judges for pulling that kind of crap. How ironic it is for a prosecutor to say that another prosecutor is a walking crime spree and lies as easily as they draw breath. All prosecutors, except for a small percentage of them, do that. Almost all prosecutors are walking crime sprees. That's what they do. That's what they do. Pretty much, And so I read that. I was like, seriously? What is that? The pot calling the kettle black? Wow. Her lawyer said Friday that the judge should consider that the 48-year-old Kahola had previously complied with all the conditions of her release on bond during the trial. That has to count for something, defense counsel Cynthia Kawada said. Wow. She also said there was no showing that Kehola had engaged in obstructive behavior. But U.S. District Judge Michael Seabright interrupted, saying, "We heard from 12 people yesterday." In finding Kehola and her husband, former police chief Louis Kehola, 58, guilty of conspiracy. See, former police chief. If this was a current prosecutor and a current police chief, they wouldn't have been prosecuted. No, this is prosecutors said during the trial that the Keholas were afraid the uncle would reveal fraud that enriched the couple's lavish life. Maintaining their power and prestige was a motive for the framing. Because apparently what they did was the jury convicted them of a plot to frame Catherine Kahola's uncle Jared Puana for the theft of a mailbox to discredit him in a family financial dispute. But this is what they do. I've reported on the show how prosecutors and judges lie through their teeth on a regular basis, and no one, and I'm the one who's vilified. I get vilified by some people. Hell, every time you mention the word ethics, I get vilified, it seems. That seems to be the buzzword. Don't talk about ethics because people just will pig pile on you. That's why I don't discuss certain aspects, certain things ethic wise. I don't discuss them on the show anymore because it's not with all the damn hate. I never, wow. I tell you, but I'll have this linked in the show notes so people can see that. And my other video that I'm working on has to do with the ruling class and the useful idiots of the ruling class and how the rules don't apply to people, the little people. It applies to us. It does not apply to the wealthy, and it does not apply to the ruling, the government. And please, for everything holy, Odin, please spare me this crap that I hate money and that I think money is evil, and I think people generally with money are evil. No. Acquiring money ethically, no problem. Free voluntary trade, I'm all for it. I'm an anarchist. I believe in living honestly, injuring no one, give every man his due. But if you acquire money by violating that principle, then I got a problem with it. So I'm going to see if we have any questions on the YouTube chat. Throw them up now, because I probably will end the show here real short. I'm dumbfounded. And thank goodness, I'm hoping it's only about 4 or 5 people max that are misunderstand my position, that I've gone at great lengths to be able, to get people to, to understand. I try to be as clear as possible. I have no problem with people making money and making huge amounts of money. But there are 2 things that go with that. One, it should be ethical. So an example that I've given is Lloyd Blankfein or Jamie Dimon, how anybody could say that they have made their money and their fortunes, and they've done so without hurting people. You're not paying attention. I know Lloyd's doing God's work, but he hurt an awful lot of people in the process. Sort of like the story in the Bible of all the firstborn male children in Egypt having to die. A lot of innocent people were hurt. To make Lloyd Blankfein, an instrument in God's hands to do God's work. Hurt an awful lot of people. And so I'm talking about where you have people in business where the profit is at other people's expenses, where it actually hurts people and it's unethical. I can't believe anybody could possibly misunderstand that. So the example I gave was Ford. Internal documents from Ford came out where they deliberately put out an extremely dangerous product, and they made a cost-benefit analysis. Let people die. We'll settle the wrongful death suits. It's a lot cheaper than retooling the factory. That's the kind of thing with money and profit that I oppose. Not free voluntary exchange that's ethical and moral. Yeah, and here, this is for Tommy Boy. I can actually advocate for ethical and honest capitalism, and I'm still a socialist. Wow. So it is it's no, I love that kind of thinking in with the people who come to and watch the show and listen to the program. And with the fortified compound, I have a G. I have a flowered G in the bookshelf, and through their awesome power of deduction, so I have to be a Mason. Wow. I just, yeah, well, Tom, I can't take callers today anyway, so we'll have to wait, and I'll get things fixed for Saturday. So the Saturday show, we should be able to have. I should have my caller. I just need a headset, so we'll do that. But if you have any questions or comments, post them here, and then I will address that. So yeah, do what you got. Do your worst. No, let's see. Did I have? I guess that's what I will call it quits there. My lucky day. I don't know how you can advocate for honest, ethical capitalism and be labeled a socialist. I just, the world is upside down. Yeah, things are really. I'm at the hospital today, and I'm just, and I know. Look, I'm going through a tough situation too with a family member who's elderly. I understand that people at the hospital, and this is a nice hospital, by the way. I get that. I don't think I'm going to be able to show it though. I get that it's a really bad situation, and maybe I'm making too much of this, but I just I don't think that even if you're in some kind of grief or something like that, I really don't think. Again, this is a pet peeve of mine, and so maybe you can we see that? Let me. This is in the family, the waiting room, and that's just one that's just one part. So you can see there, before you walk out of this room, there's a garbage pail, and the whole room. And yes, I picked up what I could. The whole room was scattered with garbage. I'm like, what? I don't get it. There's no cause. You don't need to do that. Again, this is a pet peeve of mine. It's the idea that you can't do so little as to take the garbage with you on the way out and throw it away. That people agree. We have to see this. So Tom's asking, what is ethical capitalism? That you're talking about volunteer. All right, first, capitalism is individual private ownership instead of social or common ownership, and it's the idea that you can trade property freely, and enter into free voluntary agreements or contracts with people to exchange property or in capital. Okay, and you do it ethically. I think, in a nutshell, is that you follow the principle of living honestly, injure no one, give every man his due. You're just honest in your dealing. That when you're coming to an agreement, you're agreeing to the same thing. Because if you don't have a meeting of the minds and you're not agreeing to the same thing, that's that's fraud. You are misleading somebody either by overtly or by omission. You are misleading somebody to get a benefit from that, and that's not honest. I don't believe that. Look, I know someone's gonna. There's no objective basis for ethics, so you can't discuss ethics. I think we have a pretty good principle. And live honestly, injure no one, do no harm, make your money without harming somebody. That's not a difficult. All right, so here's one. Do I think it's ethical to make a profit by investing in McDonnell Douglas, where they're selling war equipment that's being used to bomb brown children in Yemen? I think that's unethical. Yes. You look at your chain of causation and you have some damn responsibility and you've got some blood on your hands. And I'm not saying that, I don't have the time now to get into this, but if your pursuit of profit involves dishonesty or hurting other people, not giving someone their due, then it's unethical and it's dishonest. And I think that that's wrong. And the last thing I'll say, would I have the time here, is that if anyone thinks that money itself it does not corrupt people, you're not paying attention. Why do you think that cop is willing to put drugs on you? Why do you think the prosecution is willing to destroy your life? For money and power. Money gets you power. Not that money is evil. It's just that it's corrupting. And how many people out there, well, I mean, my gosh, you look at just the Milgram experiment. Here, the average person, there was 70, I think it was 66% of people would hurt another human being if told by an authority figure. How many would do that because they were making $1 million? Money corrupts people. It's not that money itself. It's in people's heads. And look, Vince Neil, prime example. His money was used to corrupt people so that he could get away with killing somebody. So it's not, look, again, I have no problem doing things ethically and morally and honestly. That's not the problem. But you can't possibly say that money can't be used to corrupt people and get people to look the other way, because history is full of that. How many times criminals, can pay off a witness not to testify so that they can be held accountable? Please. Doesn't, again, I have no problem, more power to anybody honestly and ethically earning as much money as they can acquire. Nothing wrong with that. Ethically and honestly. You put people's lives, you destroy someone's life, you destroy someone's business, dishonestly, just to make a profit, and then brush it off by saying it's just business. Yeah, that's unethical. So Tom's saying I'm painting with a broad brush. I'm giving specific examples. I can't. I'm giving specific examples. How is that with a broad brush? All right, I got to get back to the hospital. I will get the audio up today. Hopefully, I just explained. At least in my mind, make as much money as you want as long as it's ethical and honest. Who gives a damn how much money it is, Tom? No, I don't care how much. As long as you're doing it ethically and honestly, you're not violating do no harm. As long as you can honestly say in the chain of causation, there is no harm that you're causing, make as much money as you want. Then the question turns is, what are you going to do with the money? Are you going to use it? But that's something, that's not the question that you're putting out there. As long as it's ethical and honest, that you're not violating the principle of do no harm, acquire as much damn money as you want. Nobody cares that way. At least I don't. Gee. Yes, extreme concentrations of wealth historically lead to very bad, not all the time, but there are very big, very historical examples where extreme concentrations of wealth, it doesn't turn out too well. Can I need to rent them out at top dollar? Well, that's, the thing is, if you're doing it deliberately, if you have so much money that you can deliberately manipulate the market and hurt people and hurt a local economy, again, I'll keep going to Vancouver because that's happening right now. If you deliberately manipulate the market, that I think is unethical. See, and that's the thing. I'm a little guy. I was hurt severely by what Lloyd Blankfein and Jamie Dimon and what the banks and the real estate people did. All the rich people, not all, but what they did in deliberately causing a market crash. I and a lot of others were hurt severely by that. And if you think it's okay to deliberately manipulate a market just to make a profit, and you discount the harm that you're causing to a local economy like Vancouver, if you don't think that plays into you acquiring money, then you've got a moral and ethical problem. The idea that Chinese investors or someone can go in and deliberately drive up the cost, making rent go. You say, yeah, in Vancouver, just like anywhere else, housing prices might drop. Rent doesn't. And I don't have the time to keep going through and going over what happens when you drastically drive up housing prices and rent, because it has a very real effect on the local economy and it hurts people. And if you don't think that that's unethical, all right, provide your argument. I'd like to hear. That I'd like to hear. I would love to hear that. Anyway, I'm totally out of time. I've got to get back to the hospital. I will get the podcast up at markstevens.net. I may or may not keep this particular video up. Very troubling to see that it looks like it's HD, but it's not synced. It's not. Anyway, I don't know why. But you can get the podcast at markstevens.net. I will do my best to be able to do a 2-hour broadcast this Saturday, but I should be broadcasting. I should definitely be broadcasting. So I'm sorry I missed callers today, but we will get back to that next on Saturday. But if you want to help support the show, I appreciate it. It's markstevens.net and markstevens.cells.com. So till next time, baby. Salud.